Welcome back, everyone, into the SMITE 2 Founder Series. My name is Gormizer. Right over there is Lermy Wormy, and I'm really. Do you actually? You know what? I'm kind of curious now that I've said it out loud. There's probably a lot more that I should jump into. Do you still use the wormy part? I feel like I've called you like Lermy or Lermster for so long that I like that
I
it felt
you know,
weird.
I've thought about it several times before, how it would be, like, a lot cleaner to just go by Lermy, and, like, unironically, I get called Lermy more than my actual name now that I live here.
Yeah.
Maybe someday, but
Maybe
not
someday.
today.
I felt like I like government named you. I'm like Lermy Wormy. It's the Lerbster, man. Yeah, no, we're excited. It's gonna be North America. That's where we're
Yeah.
going, locked in as we've
Mhm,
discussed.
mhm.
I'm really excited to see this, and we've got the brackets ready to pull up. And kind of save me from wondering more and more about names. As you can see, of course, yesterday we did groups A and B. Today we're covering C and D. Although I know there's been like it's a whole thing. We'll get into it later. Mr. Play by Play and Throat Punch Studio, I believe, is this very first one, which is a very interesting one up front. Just because the name Throat Punch Studio is so cool to me, I am really excited to see what exactly they have to offer, especially since they're going to be coming from the open bracket side of things as opposed to the Swiss side of things, which is where Mr. Play by Play came from. So it should be fun one. Of course, there's a couple other ones. First name Zach, Roll the Dice, Employment Larpers, Buff Ool, and Theater Thugs Kitty Party all kind of kicking off. The way this is all working, for those of you who need a refresher on the format, double elim groups, right? All of these teams were separated. We're taking the top two from each group, and you can see in some places we have matches to be played, right? Over in Group A, loser of that match 3, whoever ends up winning between Garf's Goblins and Gote 5, they go to playoffs, and then the loser of the final match and every single one is eliminated. We're whittling teams down is essentially where we're at, and we're qualifying teams, 8 of them to be precise, to go play against the 8 teams from Swiss and a 16-team double elim bracket playoffs that will start 2 weeks from yesterday. That was a lot of information. What matters right now is there's a best of 3, and one team's going to win, one team's going to lose, and that's all we need to know. And they're playing Smite 2. And let me, what's been interesting and fun to watch is, again, this is going to be happening just because alpha, no matter what,
Mhm.
with introduction to balance changes kind of left and right happening throughout the week. You kind of get new stuff all the time, and so it's just who can adapt quickest to whatever is the freshest, most applicable meta that they need to play. And we'll find out, I guess, what starts to roll out as we
Mhm.
get into picks and bans here for game number 1. But I know Zeus was something that me and you were talking about earlier, but also he's just kind of been showing up a little bit more often in some of these picks and bans.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of Zeus bans and even some Fender bans still, which, I'm kind of surprised by considering he got such a big nerf coming up on, I think it was Friday, was the day when he got the Instabite interaction fixed. And, just speaking of Fender, there he goes. He's out of here for this game. But yeah, Fender's going to be the
Yeah.
first ban. Wouldn't be surprised to see Zeus here, honestly. There's a couple other, very solid options that come up here. Again, it's like Odin comes up, Bacchus comes up occasionally. And there's a lot of other things that we can talk about in regards to those spots. To be honest, it's really up in the air of what Throat Punch feels like Play by Play is going to go for.
Huh.
And I'm kind of surprised by this. I won't lie
Same.
to you. Hercules, after getting a couple of nerfs, has honestly been not performing super great across the board, but he was really, really strong, at least perception-wise, for a
The
while.
party's this
So,
way.
Surprised, but maybe they have a thought process behind this.
Admittedly, Hercules, like you said, like he's good. Like I have nothing against him. And when I look at Mr. Play by Play specifically, if I look over towards solo like Snatty, I would expect. Then again, I could also see layers like bringing him into
In
the jungle.
jungle,
There's definitely some flexibility. But it was actually Baron that like like you said, right? When you look at it, you've got your Odins, Zeus as of late, but I feel like that's like team by team. Baron has been up there, and I feel like Baron's been like 50-50. Sometimes he shows up and he is the life of the party. I have to make the joke, I have to make the pun, I have to reference it. And then sometimes he shows up and it's nothing. Like he just kind of and maybe an ult bot, and that's kind of all he can get done. So I'm curious what we'll get out of Mr. Play by Play. But the Zeus we were talking about does get locked in alongside Jing Wei, who's been pretty much like the de facto hunter for a lot of these and like carry for a lot of these teams.
Yeah, Jingwei still definitely stands above the rest in terms of carry, but I do want to go back to the Baron point as well, because not only is he just really flexible, but he is really great in those defensive roles as well, because he does scale with cooldown. And of course, cooldown's been a hot topic for weeks at this point. Cooldown is still a really, really great build. It did get a noticeable nerf, at least on the defensive end on Friday, with Breastplate and Genji's being two of the really notable hits for those kind of characters. But Nuwa is actually very interesting to me, because she was basically out of meta for a couple of weeks there when she got hit with some really heavy nerfs. Got a small smidgen of a buff back moderately recently, but interesting selection up against the Zeus. And honestly, I think it's great into Zeus, because it kind of mitigates, well, it's great and it's bad at the same time, right? Because not only are you making more targets for Chain Lightning, which, you know, could coincidentally hit yourself with those clay minions, but it could also absorb a lot of those charges, so you're not passing them around between teammates. You're passing them between soldiers, and killing a soldier is not the end of the world by any means. So good and bad in that case, but also good because it can help to kind of lock down that Zeus, who is very immobile of a character. So, you know, having people that can kind of run up to Zeus and kill him is the best way to deal with him in a lot of situations, but he will fight back. That guy does a lot of damage, and I'm curious to see what else Mr. Play-by-Play choose to round out this draft. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they go for like an Odin, but realistically, they may already have their Soul Lane or a Mordred. I'm really interested to see what they go for here.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes this fun, is Mordred's been flexible enough that it could be solo. I've technically seen Mordred jungle, but it doesn't happen too often. It really just, it depends on the players, and when I look at Mr. Play-by-Play,
oh, okay.
Yeah, it gives us something interesting, to the point where, and Laramie, maybe you can educate me, but when I see this, I still don't know technically which one's going to go into the jungle. I feel like I've seen a couple, and admittedly it's been an EMEA, it's been a different player, but I have seen Bologna thrown into the jungle as well, and the Mordred. It definitely feels like there's some flexibility. Who knows, maybe we're getting a Bologna carry and they're mimicking you and they're playing Kern jungle.
Yeah, they wish, but I think in general, I'm expecting the Mordred to go into the jungle here in comparison. And this Bologna Chalk matchup is going to be actually really interesting, because Chalk got a huge set of buffs on Friday as well. So going up against the Bologna, who has a little bit more of a tenured kind of style over in the Soul Lane, versus Chalk, who you just don't see very much. He was a pretty unpopular character, at least recently, right? But these buffs could have changed everything, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, he is a top pick, but pick 10th here. So we should see where that ends up all around. But if I'm looking at these comps in general, I am a little bit more impressed with the control going on in Throat Punch's comp in comparison to Mr. Play-by-Play. But I think that when it comes to the overall late game carry, I'm a little bit more excited to see what this new one Kern combo can do when also pushed forward by their heavy dive from the Mordred and Bologna.
Yeah, it feels like one of the teams, and I'll say, like you mentioned, Throat Punch Studio feels much more standard, right? Like, it's got everything that I kind of expect. You got a burst damage mage, you've got your assassin style coming out from Loki, just a crit and or maybe auto attack heavy, but no matter what, something kind of carry coming out of the Jingwei, and then just two frontliners to run up and bully people for you. The other side is where things, like you said, get very interesting and maybe have a little more of an execution threshold. But like you said, with Nuwa, you have a both live and die format with your soldiers against the Zeus, and like those guys are gonna die anyway. Like, the whole reason you're spawning them is because you're gonna detonate them, and so realistically there's definitely some wiggle room around, like you said, the Chain Lightning, maybe locking down a small immobile Zeus and some others. But realistically, I think that it comes down to support play, right? Like frontline, if you're looking at Ymir versus the Baron, it's one side is just inherently a little tankier. It's gonna be able to survive a little longer, especially in this early game. And that's where we see, I think, and I'll mention Baron again for this. Sometimes a Baron dominates because you've got that, you know, early level mage-esque style of play that you can just smack people around. And then sometimes he gets smacked around because you've got the early health bar of the typical mid laner, or even someone who would just show up maybe even in solo lane, but not necessarily of the support like Ymir's going to have. So that's going to be interesting to see, like Kern early game versus Jing early game, and who maybe packs more of a punch.
Yeah, it is important to note that there are 5 categories of health tiers, I guess you could say, or like, I guess, tankiness tiers. And Baron falls into the 3rd category, where like Bologna, Mordred, they're in the 4th. Ymir, though, is in the 5th category of the
Yeah.
tankiest character. So you do have that discrepancy to keep note of, like you were talking about. But the thing that I want to point out that is the most important here in this matchup to me is the wall. There's only one member who can go through the wall without a Phantom Shell, and that's Bellona, and that's using her ultimate. So I think the wall placements here from Lynant are going to be really, really important as to getting these lockdown kills and trapping them in the Zeus ult, in the Chalk ult, in the Loki damage, whatever it might be. That's going to be crucial here.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to see it. We don't need to wait any longer. We just jump into game number 1 between these two teams. And like you said, Lynant is maybe the one, and I'm a sucker for Ymir in the first place, so I was already looking over there. But I also love, and this is something I've talked about a lot in the past. Like, it's part of the reason I like Yemoja, both for Riptide, her ult, Odin cages, Ymir, and it's just being able to change the pathways of the jungle, right? Like, suddenly what was a safety outlet for you is now just a wall and you're dead, and being able to kind of cut those pathways off and change the geometry that you're used to. I just always think it's such a fun thing to play with, and maybe that's what's it called, getting too into it. I don't think any of the players are like, yes, my geometry, my angles, but realistically at the end of the day, like, just a wall there, and suddenly you get a kill. It makes a huge difference.
You're saying just a wall, but here's the thing about Ymir wall and Smite 2 is that it's not just a wall, ladies and gentlemen. It's got a knockback too. So keeping that CC in mind is going to be really, really important, because yes, it does block off jungle pathways, but it also has the potential to knock players back towards you or away from you as well, which, I mean, duly noted, could be a good thing or a bad thing. And you know, if you make the mistake of missing the wall, even by just a little bit, you could put them in a position where you don't want them to be. So I am really looking forward to this gameplay from the Ymir. I think he is definitely going to be the player to watch in terms of this mid game. In the early game, though, I'm really excited to see how this Mordred jungle pops off. Players, of course, is a very storied player throughout the console league, moved up to the SPL for a while in certain, you know, formats. And so I do think that if they're able to get active, maybe we'll see a nice early kill.
Yeah, the damage that you need, right? And that's what I was mentioning earlier. We might even see a second with that. Is maybe the perfect start you could ask for a duo lane. I was saying, you know, we were talking about the health scaling. I guess we forgot to mention the damage that would still be there.
Yeah,
at the end of the day, Baron still hits.
He sure does. And because, again, he is in that more middle tier, he does have more damage than a Ymir would, just in general. But yeah, you don't typically see a lot of that aggression from one of those, you know, super tanky characters that does a lot of damage. So getting a little bit of that trade-off, never a bad thing in my book.
Watching also the jungle, you were talking a little bit about what Mordred could do. Oh, just a little short, but bullying the Loki. I mean, even, yes, it's layers, like you said. Yes, it's a player who I expect to be aggressive and expect to kill.
Oh my god. Yeah,
I don't know if I expected that. I mean, diving the tier 1, getting a kill. I mean, that is a power play, forcing the Loki to fall back as well. I mean, Mordred level 3, thumbs up.
Yeah, that was a bit of crazy aggression, just really well calculated there from the duo of Layers and Crim over in that mid and jungle role. Over here in solo, though, not too surprising that we're just kind of chilling. I'm not really sure that either of these guys are going to have too much trouble by themselves. We'll have to see if the gank ends up going their way, but fighting over the totem, a tale as old as time. I'm so happy that this is back in Smite 2, man.
I know it's I don't know even where to start. It's the crunch of the bones that is both very satisfying and very unnerving to listen to every time we come over here. And whether I'm in game or just watching, like, it's very visceral.
Crunch, crunch, crunch. Oh, Layers. Taking a peek around the corner, trying to get the timers on the buffs on the side. It seems like he does want to come back eventually, maybe to invade. Their buffs are pretty well aligned in terms of the timer, but before then, Layers is just going to make his way towards the mid lane, get some poke on the Zeus, and just seeing him activate that thunderclap makes it feel like he was worried they were going to dive again. And honestly, I wouldn't put that past Layers.
Yeah, realistically, if at this point when you're aggressive and you've got a little bit of a lead, which they haven't been able to pick up, you stay aggressive and you've got some damage. You might get, I don't know, no Pringles. You go a little too far, bud, and unfortunately that one gets returned by Throat Punch Studio. They catch you out. They get that kill. Now you've got Zek over here on the Loki. Looks like it might turn into an invade as opposed to maybe a gank. Well, Layers is going to spot it out. So a fight over the purple buff. And maybe a fight for your life. This Loki has definitely been on the receiving end of this Mordred damage so far. Hasn't hit level 5 either. And Mordred's going to run up into the sky, slam down, finds the kill. Might even be able to push forward a little further. Now Pringles is back. The duo lane, even with that death, has no doubts in their mind as to who's in control.
Oh, almost didn't get that purple there, but a well-timed zone there from Layers going to make sure that Ymir's got to walk away. They do end up securing the purple, which is great because not only did they get their own purple, they steal the enemies as well. Meanwhile, though, we see the rotation over to the red buff for Prince over on the right-hand side to make sure that gets secured. Layers, of course, will not know anymore because he doesn't have that timer. Does know that it was up at some point, and as soon as Prince does show up in that mid lane, Layers will know because Grim will tell him.
Sorry, every time the stealth grass, like, I want to wait. I looked at the minimap, recognized that there's literally nobody nearby. I love stealth plays, as you well know, because we did much in the very beginning, as well as maybe a little back and forth here. This is actually getting dangerously low. Hammer, slam, and Snatty with the kill, 5-1, and almost 3,000 gold, a full 3,000 gold up 5 minutes in. I mean, Mr. Play-by-Play are not messing around here. They recognize... Well,
maybe they were messing around a little bit.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Okay, good point. They're messing around just a tasteful amount that is necessary to maintain a lead. Good root from Krim as well, just to make sure that it's not another kill going over to Throat Punch Studios. And that's the problem, I feel like, for the Chaos team here, is trying to find a small bit of brevity, because you've just got kills upon kills, and maybe, no, Dashboard already used the ult if they had it. Double kill potentially happening, but now 6-1, and Lermy, they do in fact crest that 3,000 gold mark.
It might be going even a little bit further here. Purple buff was claimed already at this middle side, but also the speed buff is coming up for both ends of things. Seems like Layers, though, isn't too interested in going there right away, but damage here in the solo lane means that Snatty gets another solo kill, which you hate to see if you're on Throat Punch, but I'm sure Mr. Play-by-Play is feeling real good about that one.
Yeah, I don't think they have much reason to not be feeling good, though now we've got Zek looking for a gank. Good wall slows Dashboard down, and good freeze makes sure that the Baron stays engaged and in combat. But a blink forward, it's actually Pringles who's getting aggressive. Dashboard manages to get out of here.
Oh my god.
Coming in off the top rope with a steel chair. Slams it down on him, and now you just got to keep this Kurnanos alive so far. You're doing a great job, and he does trade it out. 2-for-1 trade when the gank starts the other way. Maybe 3-for-1 if Layers gets his way. I mean, an absolute masterclass in turning things around. 10-2, Mr. Play-by-Play are off to the races.
Yeah, he just kind of felt like Mr. Kool-Aid Man coming through the wall there. Just out of nowhere from downtown comes Layers charging through with the Pursue the Weak to grab the kill, start off the rest of the fight. A little unfortunate that Pringles did fall down in that engagement, but again, not the end of the world when your jungle is as fed. 4-0-1 as Layers is right now. Just such a huge advantage there in the gold specifically. A little bit in XP, you know. Zek is doing a great job at least keeping up. Nice damage.
Oh my god.
On the Zeus forces out the Aegis on the air, unfortunately. But not to be mistaken, we'll keep that cooldown in mind going forward. Unfortunate there from line and trying to find some damage to the Krim, but that speed buff makes him extra slippery at this point.
Yeah, this actually might end up being worse for Lineant. The damage numbers, they can go one way more than the other. And right now it's favoring the new Wa, who manages to get it. Prince had stayed, canceled the back to come in and try and save the Ymir, loses his life instead. Saves Krim from having to wait a few more seconds and potentially use the ult. Now you've got to be careful when Ymir luckily gets back. Lermy, there hasn't been a tower felled so far, but it feels like there should have been. At this point, the control Mr. Play-by-Play have. 8 minutes into this game, it is a solid grip to the point where, I mean, they're freely running around in Throat Punch's jungle, and I don't think they really have any worries.
Are Throat Punch the ones getting punched in the throat?
Yeah, that's how it is a pretty good descriptor for the way this game is going.
Oh no, the Ymir is stuck out a little bit here. Pursue the Weak coming out one more time, up and then down, and hopefully into a nice, easy rampage here for the jungler of Mr. Play-by-Play, and they are getting deep into this tower.
Up in the sky, there's a little bit of extra damage. Control Alt I-8 taken down and left. Of course, Line Ant already gone. And that's a force back on Prince. And I mean, look, if you can't chase the kills under a tier 2, which you're 9 minutes into the game, you shouldn't be. Yeah, go for the Gold Fairy instead. Extend this lead even further beyond. And that's exactly what Mr. Play-by-Play are going to do. A lot of control coming down. And again, this is this team, I believe, 2nd seed overall. And so it is not unexpected for them to do well. Maybe a little unexpected to see them doing this well. Total control, about 7,000 gold right now in the lead.
9 minutes?
And at 9 minutes in, which is very, very tough to fight back from. Not even mentioning the experience. I mean, you got 3 levels in solo. Let's call it 1.5 in the jungle because I just saw Loki hit over the 9. There's definitely some places for Throat Punch to
from downtown one more time?
Yeah, you gotta be careful about layers. The Zeus ult comes out. They might actually catch him out.
Dang, a little too greedy there for the jungler. Very great ultimate, turns right back around when the players are ready to claim the turnaround. However, over in the dual lane, they get a trade of their own. So, you know, it's honestly, you know, I could see an angle where it's good that Layers dies here because he's lost his bounty. You know, 5 kills will be the end of the gold that they return onto him for now. You know, maybe Layers could get another 13 in a row, you never know. But not bad to limit the amount of gold that you return for a death at this point in the game. Look at that sustain. Oh my god.
This is sometimes you just gotta let the moments like speak for themselves. I think Snatty, I think he said enough there. I mean, geez, it's so difficult right now to, if you're, you know, the lane train, if you're Zek, if you're Prince, if you're Line Ant, if you're Control All I Eat, like, just existing in this game, it feels like, has become a very difficult task. You've been able to find some kills, though, right? And I think getting that last kill specifically on the Layers is a big deal. The Jingwei, though, might be in a little bit of trouble. Luckily, the lockdown Pringles is not connecting on, so you managed to juke out enough. Yeah, your Loki dies on the other side of the map. Ignore them for now and just try to stay alive. Good blink forward. Oh my god, and he still gets it. I'm so Pringles. 6-2-2, 11 minutes into the game.
You know, he may have flubbed it a little bit at the beginning there, but every good ADC has their moments.
Pulled in, damage, follow-up, seems to be there. Zeus drops the ult, but it is not getting anything done. Prince, dead. Line Ant, dead. Double kill the dashboard. It probably didn't need it, but who cares? It's everybody's game if you're Mr. Play-by-Play. And Lermy, it's just pushing down towers. Tier 1 now in mid and in left gone. Tier 2's pretty much on the horizon. I mean, you've got the minion waves, you've got the people. Might as well keep pushing. Fire Giant's not even, like, in yet. Like,
Pyromancer's not either, man. We're like, we're chilling right now. But gotta be
they literally don't have any other option.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. What a turnaround here. A little bit unfortunate there for the turnaround, but nice job there by Crim to at least start to peel away this Loki. Gotta be concerned about the 3 members barreling down this mid lane to take down that new one. Triple kill there for Zek. And honestly, you know, that was best case scenario for them at this rate. I am happy to see some life. You know, you love to see when they fight back, the enemy who's getting trampled upon, you know, starts to show a little bit of life, you know, and I think that those are really, really great kills to be getting because especially for the Baron who was on a killing spree, you know, Layers doing Layers things, of course, so already going on a kill, not a killing spree per se, but going crazy so far this game. You love to get some of that extra experience and gold on your side. You love to be able to bring it back even just a little bit, right? Because things, of course, as we've been talking about, have been going a little bit crazy. But as we're starting to see Throat Punch posture around this Gold Fury, it looks like they want to start to take their fate back into their own hands.
Honestly, I like to see it. After getting a triple kill, you got to do something for aggressive. You need to get on the board. You need to slow this down because they're talking 10,000 gold now. Unfortunately, the start of the fight doesn't go their way. Lion already gone. Zeus under duress, but seems to be just fine unless that new Wasp spots him out and is looping around the back. Is going to be able to catch out that back, I believe. No, just a little too late to get the job done. But the stall and the fight still goes the way of Mr. Play-by-Play. 2 for none. They're opening around to Gold Fury. Might as well start what the other team couldn't finish. And unless Zek makes an absolutely insane play here, he's walking around in the jungle. Could be suicide to just jump in on your own. And instead, we'll just kind of look for some camps to steal and let that one be.
Yeah, Snatty so tanky here, able to essentially take no damage from the Gold Fury just due to the sustain with that whip. It's pretty solid stuff coming out here for a play-by-play. Of course, we're seeing a little bit of overexcitement, you could say, in a couple directions here, but would you even dare say it's unwarranted considering how we've been seeing them play? I mean, they are crushing it thus far, but Zek might see an opportunity here to get a little crazy against this curtain.
Now, a little aggressive. And that aggression at least gets I'll say the shutdown kill over on the Pringles. We'll call that the payoff here. But overall, difficult position to be in if you throw punch. Krim, honestly, in this 2v1, might even be in a better off state. Has some backup here from Dashboard. Good damage out onto the Zeus. Stun, not necessary, but they're pulling him away from the ult. Might have a little more, and there it is to kill off Prince. Control, alt, I eat dead on the left-hand side. And it is just kill after kill, a bloodbath for Mr. Play-by-Play. And again, Laramie, like, at the point where you've got such a lead, Fire Giant's more than feasible right now. It's just
certainly.
getting everybody on the same page to want to go over there as opposed to just holding W.
Well, we will be seeing Lineant in approximately another 30 seconds from now. But left-hand side tower going down, right-hand side saved by Pringles. I think it should be soon that we see them go to Fire Giant, but you never know. Teams love to get a little silly, a little crazy when they're in this kind of a lead, and a level 17 Bologna versus a level 11 Jingwei is not what you like to see. Snatty does get taken down for his hubris, though. He is going to fall down to the Assassinate, plus a couple of crits from the Jingwei.
Yeah, the crits help out. Maybe the earliest crit I've seen from a Jingwei in quite some time, but you know what? You just got to kill on the Snatty. That's a big thumbs up from me. I don't care if it's too early. I don't care if it's too late. It's getting the job done. Unfortunately, Fire Giant is also getting done right now, and it does not seem like there's going to be any chance. I don't even know if I would advocate. Normally, I'm all about Fire Giant steals, but I think Throw Punch Studio making the right call, staying behind there. Unfortunately, it does mean an empowered Pringles, Layers, pretty much everybody, except for Snatty on the side of Mr. Play-by-Play. Maybe an opportunity for not just a tier 2, but potentially a Phoenix. You've got 2 people over on left right now. The backs are just getting channeled for the Jingwei and the Zeus. So with a little aggression, you can put some pressure over here on right. The team, again, is kind of up in the air. New Wa's not even over here yet, so it might not have enough pressure just for presence to be able to get that done.
Yeah, they kind of have to wait for Snatty to push at that left-hand side and hopefully split folks up, but going a bit crazy here, trying to even pull people through the doors to make this fight happen. Crim's getting a bit doped in the back line, but Prince is down, pushed a little bit too high up. Nice ult there from Layers. Does get some action started, and Layers gets to grab a double for themselves. Pringles also gets the double, and with 4 members down, that just might be the game board.
Yeah, walk in, take the bird, and there is just one lone Loki trying to do his best against the world here.
But no
ult. You can distract a little bit. See, that's the biggest thing. If you can... Okay, so you bought a little bit of time. That
approximately, let me check my watch. 5 seconds, maybe?
Maybe max. But hey, game 1, Mr. Play-by-Play, it was never in doubt from minute 1, 17:42 in, and they get the win.
Sheesh, what a fast game. I'd say it was clean. It wasn't quite super
Maybe
clean
on
like
one side,
we're used to, but
yeah.
it was very entertaining at the very least to see just how active Mr. Play-by-Play was getting in these fights. They wanted to get in and get it done fast, and they certainly did do that. That's one of the I feel like that's one of the fastest games that I've seen in a long time, honestly, even considering just some of those little oopsies here and there when it comes to pushing down that mid tower, a little bit in duo, those kind of things, if you're playing perfectly clean, they don't happen. But at the same time, the results don't lie here, Gore. That was a crazy game.
Yeah, I think realistically, if you're the Punch Studio, realistically, it's maybe not even the draft. I think you just have to hit a reset button, reassess the
Mhm.
early game, then a little bit of the mid game, and unfortunately, by the time late game, quote
Were
unquote,
we in late game?
came around, Mr. Play by Play were in late game. I don't think anybody else was, but Mr. Play by Play were.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe you got to reassess some of the starts there, and unfortunately, it just fell apart. So they've got a chance to redeem themselves though in game 2 right after this.
this feeling inside that I can't put aside because I want you. Although I thought I was fine when I left you behind, I know I loved you. I got this feeling inside that I can't put aside because I want you. Although I thought I was fine.
Welcome back, everyone, into the Smite 2 Founders series. Of course, as we continue here in North America, my name is Gormizer. Next to me is Lermy, Wormy, the Lermster. Many names, many faces, many jobs, many hats.
faces.
Yeah, well, like, you know, you wear the face of a dev, you wear the face of an entertainer, you wear the face of a caster, you wear the face
All
of
of the above, huh?
just Lermy, who's like working on Gundam models and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like, yeah,
a lot,
all
a
of the
lot
faces.
of them.
And if you want to see the many faces of Smite, you can go to SmiteVod. That's actually a sick
Yeah,
transition. Let's go. You can watch, of course, a ton of history that is going on over at youtube.com/SmiteVod, whether it's past World Championships from Smite 1, you want to go back and watch some of the earliest seasons, you want to just kind of get hype and remind yourself what it is like, especially as we go towards Vegas in front of a live crowd, then you should go to youtube.com/SmiteVod now and subscribe while you can. Find the playlist. There are playlists for virtually everything that you could want to see. And you're going to want to make sure you do that. And while you're at it, go to Smite Pro as well, just because there's a lot of good content over there. But Smite VOD is the main focus for the historical aspect and the many, many faces of Smite Pros across the years that you can then dip your toes in and see. But for now, what we are seeing and watching and experiencing was Mr. Play-by-Play versus Throat Punch Studio. And if anyone in this was getting throat punched, it was definitely Throat Punch Studio themselves, right? I mean, it was just absolute dominance on one side.
Yeah, it's hard to say anything but that. Of course, we did see some signs of life there out of the jungle from Zek.
Sure.
7, 5, and 1, did show up, did actually get a lot of the plays started that, Throat Punch Studio looked great in, was a lot thanks to Zek getting the party started, right? But in terms of bringing the party to its conclusion, Dashboard on the Baron certainly was one that was making a lot of waves here. Pringles having 12 kills going forward also did a great job in terms of pushing his team forward, making that lead known. And of course, Layers in the jungle going crazy as always.
Yeah, Layers doing Layers things, it feels like. Damage-wise, of course the Nuwa was up there. But also, I mean, I'm so Pringles, I was caught off guard by how aggressive and successfully so the Kern was able to get and was able to control that lane. And even forcing very early crit out of the Jing Wei, which I will say did pay off in certain circumstances. Didn't result in a kill, but a couple of those assists were because of the early crits. It's just unfortunate that they weren't able to maybe manifest anything more out of that. And Lermy, when it comes down to it, like normally, I'd look at this and I'd be like, "Ooh, I don't know. You kind of got smacked around. Maybe it was the draft. Like, what do we need to change?" The draft itself didn't feel like it was that big of a problem. It really did feel like it just came down to play on field.
I don't disagree with you. I actually did prefer Throat Punch's draft a lot more in comparison to Mr. Play-by-Play in general. But when you are able to be as aggressive as Play-by-Play was, that kind of comp suits that style so well to a T. But if we're talking traditional Smite, Throat Punch knows how to draft. They just need to actually take that knowledge and put it into the play on field style that they're taking up, because they cannot afford to let Mr. Play-by-Play kind of take them for, that kind of a run through one more time. They've got to change it in the gameplay, and maybe they go for a target ban or two here, but honestly, everyone played so well that I'm not even sure who you would throw that target to. It wouldn't really make any sense to me. So keep the draft similar in my mind. Change the play on field.
Well, we've got picks and bans, so we'll see if they keep the draft similar, or if they change some things up. Throat Punch will be first pick, so that at least changes a little bit in their favor. It's just going to be God questions. I think Hercules,
wow.
You know what? The ban came out first last time. Ban it again. Does still mean, Fenrir's available? presumably about to get banned out by Mr. Play-by-Play. No, it's Baron. So Throat Punch Studio have a chance to get the best god in the game, as proven by numbers at least. The Vinmir locked in number one, and admittedly, Laramie, not too surprised by it.
I am. I'm sick of nerfing this god, man. Can we stop?
Yeah, let him just be mad for a little bit, actually.
Jokes aside, right? This character is still really good and really flexible, right? He can play support, he can play jungle, he could even flex into solo. And a lot of that strength from this god does have to come through in the fact that beads are a very limited resource, especially towards that mid to late stage of the game. You have to be super coordinated with your team if they're going things like purification, or if they're actually going the beads themselves, to make sure that everybody's in the same spot and ready to use those, actives or relic, depending on the situation, right? It's really just kind of like a team synergy check, right? You know, you have like certain stats that come up, like I'm doing a dex check. That's your similar thing here in Smite 2. Is your team well coordinated enough to deal with the Fenrir, or are you going to get bitten and dragged into the entire enemy team? That's the thing that you have to solve for here. And usually teams are pretty okay at adapting to it. You know, I haven't been super impressed. I've been super impressed by the performance of Fenrir over the past few weeks, but he still maintains his upper pick spot, which continues to surprise me, but I'm excited to see what Throat Punch do with it.
Yeah, they get that, the Anubis, the on her as well, someone I think worth talking about, because he doesn't get picked up too often, but he's not bad by any means. I mean, he still feels really solid, picking that over the Jingwei this time. And so changing up that, you have, safety in your leap, you have the turnaround, impale, your stun, you bring CC, good damage. Always a god that I love to see, but always a god I'm a little curious about, because when we're talking about execution on the playing field, it does feel like On Her requires that execution to be there, and could very well end up getting bullied just as well as the Jingwei did. Mr. Play-by-Play, however, outside of the Emir change, which I think is that over the Baron, Mordred, Carnanos, now the Zeus locked in instead of the Nuwa, means that they're going for a lot of the same power picks, or just power in general getting picked up.
It's a classic mid lane matchup. A mid lane matchup of all time, you might even say, between the two very immobile gods. These gods are not running away from each other ever. It's who can out DPS the other one between the Anubis and the Zeus. And it's really going to depend on if the Zeus has bounce targets. Because if he doesn't, Anubis wins this every day of the week. However,
to teach them anyway.
Oh, it's really close. It's really, really close. I'm super excited to see what they cook up in mid this time.
Yeah, mid, it's always really fun, like you said, when it comes down to just the DPS checkers, right? What are they going to do? Also interested to see Odin and Bacchus get locked in, two gods that, 3-4 weeks ago were the top of the crop. Now, still really good, just haven't been picked up as often. So we'll have to see how they fare as we jump into game number 2 between Throat Punch Studio and Mr. Play-by-Play. Again, the first game, Mr. Play-by-Play, a heavy amount of control. But there is some change up. Krim this time around on the Zeus blinks onto the Emir dashboard alone and should be caught out. Has the carpet of all things. But no, the move speed, I can't believe the Emir walks away from the 4-man gank, 2 blinks down. And first blood evaded by Mr. Play-by-Play dashboard, gets to safety, and with a small reset should even be back for buffs.
Yeah, I mean, that is the power of the teleporters at this stage of the game. A little surprised that Throat Punch went for it as soon as they did. Lots of blinks expended, right? But Odin and Bacchus just not even close to them at that point in time. If they had been there, maybe that goes a little bit differently, but it's tough to say at this stage of the game, right? Where you're seeing everybody start to make their way back to their lanes. And then, of course, it's important to mention here, I figure, Athena solo was something that we missed over in picks and bans, but not something, honestly, we've seen in a long time. It feels like, if anywhere that the Athena is flexing, it's usually into the jungle. But yeah, excited to see what Snatty does over here in this lane against the lane train playing the Odin.
It is a matchup that I'm not prepared for. I don't know that a lot's going to happen over there, but not one that I've seen too often. Because mainly, like you said, Athena, if she's not going support, is going to the jungle. There's not been a lot of opportunities to see an Athena in the solo lane. Krim as well, this one, a matchup that you had kind of mentioned in Picks and Bans, one that I'm just excited to see. Mainly because it feels like who wins the DPS check kind of depends on, does Anubis have minions nearby and how many to eat a chain lightning charge, or is it just going to bounce on him and one other for eternally and cause that much trouble? Krim, maybe an advantage in the early game, but otherwise, I really don't know what to expect out of that lane. I'm also curious about the Fenrir and the Mordred, because like last game, Layers got off to a great start on this Mordred. I mean, it was like finding kills left and right. They were up like 3-0 really, really early on, and this Mordred was just bullying people pretty much wherever they had the opportunity to.
Phantom Shell forced out pretty early over here in duo, but considering that Dashboard had to use his to save his own life, not a bad look for things here for Mr. Play. Force some things under tower already. Huge brawl though over here in the mid lane. Jump in from the Fenrir and Brutalize forces the blink, but they're still fighting.
I mean, they keep that amount of aggression going. Now, honestly, it might be easier to watch the health bars on the sides to see who's going to be winning overall. This is another, I think, just like series of matchups where it really does feel like in the blink of an eye, the DPS can change so dramatically. There's a good leap. Great wall on the other side. Impale returns a little bit dash forward from Pringles. And you get two incredibly low health bars, but again, no first blood just yet. Layers maybe wanting to change that. It's a little bit of pressure on the Prince, has the Zeus nearby, charges out, and Krim with one final auto, first blood 2 minutes in.
Not a bad start here for the mid laner in the jungle of Mr. Play. Trying to get active on this left-hand side is Zek in return. But having spent so long, gotta be worried about Layers coming through in the back end. And that is one low on her. Up downing for some reason.
Yeah, Joe's up down pays for it overall, though Fenrir with a little bit of help. Yeah, might be able to turn, well, does turn at least one around. Might be able to get out, that's the main goal. And that hope was very short-lived, unfortunately, taken down 3 for 1 overall. You get the kill on the dashboard, but you lose a lot. 1 to the jungler, Mr. Play-by-Play, 2 over to Pringles. And Larry, that's a dangerous start to be messing with. We're already 1,200 gold. I'm going to keep the counter going, because last time we were at like 10k 9 minutes in or something ridiculous like that.
Oh yeah. Players here kind of gets to do what he wants. Not much that Link can do here, considering that is a level 5 Mordred. Probably with Pursue of the Week available. You know, wouldn't be surprised to see the lower energy alternative ultimate up at this point in time. But Bacchus making their way down over to this left-hand side one more time to give Control Alt I a little bit more space to get this farm up. Starting to get really dangerous though for Dashboard as he's getting chased down by the Fenrir.
Well, Dashboard's been caught out in this position before and was fine, and now he's got back up into the sky goes Layers, brings him down. Pringles shredding one on one side, waiting for the Fenrir, gets the last hit there. And at this point, you're lucky they used their dashes already to engage. It feels like this is the only way to get out. Bach is trying to run, polymorphed. Good pillar, creates a little bit of space, but it's still a double kill going one way. Krim incredibly low. I'm surprised. Willing to even step up to the tower line against the Anubis. They're diving over it.
Way.
Oh my god.
You know what?
And
okay.
punishing them. And the kill goes to the tower.
I'm sorry. That's my bad for saying they shouldn't target someone in Picks and Bans. They should have targeted Layers. That's my bad. You know, I accept the L on that one because Layers is Mr. Play-by-Play here. He is the one pushing the envelope here for this Chaos team. Holy crap.
I mean, that, honestly, if I needed 2 words to put it as succinct as possible, that pretty much nails it. I mean, holy crap. 205, just all over the place. And it really, there's a couple of unfortunate misses, right? Like, nobody having enough damage or hitting Pringles, so that kill goes to the tower. So at best, you get an assist on it.
Oh, and that's the bounty gone again. That is the best way to die when you have an advantage like that, is to a tower, so that you're not giving that gold to anybody. Dang, they're good.
Now I'm actually a little sad for Throughput Studio. Like, that's such an unfortunate scenario. Like, that's a great way to get back into the game. But like you said, it's a great play for Mr. Play-by-Play, who managed to probably not intentionally do it, but, you know, benefits nonetheless. In fact, Pringles has 2 levels up over the on-her port. Unfortunately, Control Alt I hasn't even been able to hit 5, but has the damage right now and has the backup as well. Yeah, you might be polymorph, but here comes Anubis Prince. You just gotta get something. The laser, no, it's a little too short.
Out.
Pringles is out. And there's no way. No one. You have to stop him. Somebody's got to catch him. Somebody's got to get him. Is he just gonna run to the tower?
That's exhausted. Oh my god. And he dies in the tower again. Oh, is that a punch in the face or what? Oh,
I'd say it's a punch to the throat.
Either way. Oh, that is tough. I felt that in my heart. Watching that Kurnos jump into the tower. Oh man, this is a tough situation to be in if you were a throat punch. Nice damage there from Dashboard to let Layers get that last hit. Good damage from Krim as well onto Lynn, forcing them to walk on back. Ooh, so close there. Oh, okay, Red Buff does not take that kill, but it was very, very close to getting it with that extra damage from Blight. Can't be too. Oh, Krim.
Layers. Oh no! Krim was just off the mark with the auto, so didn't get the kill, but still stopped the back. Maybe there's room for something to happen because Snatty's here to try and force something. Maybe it's a taunt, just a little bit of damage. Maybe it's some pressure
and they
on the tower. Yeah, they did a Gold Fury. By the way, we said we were going to keep a rolling counter. Quick math, 4,000, a little over 3,000 right now. Gold in favor of Mr. Play-by-Play. 7 minutes into the game. And I don't see him slowing down.
This is a really tough situation to be as First Punch because, I mean, to be honest, any sane competitive player gets into a game like that and their mental is absolutely rocked. Like that's not even BM. Like genuinely, I would be very sad being in a game like that and having to come back into game number 2 and feel that pain all over again. It's got to be crushing.
Yeah, at least right now, I mean, still, like you said, showing signs of life, putting up a fight. Unfortunately, sometimes those fights are not going incredibly well. They might be able to get Snatty, though. Athena, not a lot to her name, no ult available. Dash was just used. There's a shield wall, which is going to help a little bit. Good taunt, but again, you're just surviving. And I was going to say, no, that's another win right in the win column. Also opened up the opportunity for the team to chase down, demolish, I will say, the tier 1 in left and some of the health bars of the players in left lane.
Oh, the teleport?
And the duo pushed back. Teleport, as he said, comes through, leaps forward. Dashboard forced to use a shell. You need a little more backup. There's the laser to get a kill. But circling around, they find and get at least one good blink from Pringles. Looking for Control Alt I needs to hit one more. Auto finds it. You got Krim rotating in as well. You've lost 2 in the meantime, but it is survival of the fittest here. And Mr. Play-by-Play have proven themselves time and time again. 4 for 2. 14-4 and a 4,300 gold lead for Mr. Play-by-Play. Just confidence, confidence, confidence.
Yeah, there's not much more to say other than that. It just really goes to show you how much aura, for lack of a better term, will do for you in games like this, where you just show up to a lane and you say, don't care if I'm dying, we are going to get this tower, we are going to get these kills. Sometimes that confidence does wonders for you, right? Because even just in regular sports as well, right? Having that can't-do mentality is not going to cut it. And in situations like this, it's just really tough to come back mentally when you're getting rocked the way that Throw Punch has been getting rocked. However, those kills that they got in that engagement on the left-hand side are really great because they do get them keeping up with that gold lead. What is not going to help them, though, is another kill in the kill column for Pringles, who has just been rocking it so far this set. Absolutely great gameplay coming through. Mordred ult down mid, Anubis in the middle of 3. I'm not sure how he gets out of this one.
You gotta try whatever you can. Layers, it just isn't taking damage, it feels like. Has some sort of immunity. Dashboard pays for their hubris. And going a little too far. Now you've got Zek who jumped in. No, that jump actually ends up costing you everything. Your life goes down, and slowly but surely, maybe some cooldown. Maybe it detonates something. Pull the trucker horn if you got it, Krim. A little too late. The charges disappear. And Bacchus gets out barely, but gets out.
Can I say that was huge from Dash, by the way? The reason that Layers wasn't really taking that much damage from the tower was because Dash was tanking it the whole time. Now that's a support, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll hold it so that you, I'll die for
to
you.
the tower. Bacchus ended up getting a little bit of damage in there. So
Yeah.
Thankfully, the
You
support
get, like,
does
credit.
end up grabbing that kill, but not worth all that much is it to take down the support. Dash is taking that trade any day of the week. And the fact also that Layers lived that whole engagement, which, you know, Snatty, considering he's in the middle of 3, may not, does get the ultimate off, though. So Defender of Olympus really defending themselves versus someone else in this case. But if it works, it works, you know? And Snatty did live after such a heavy collapse onto the soul laner.
I mean, just control. I use that term a lot. I'm going to continue using it. We're talking 7,000 gold for one squad right now. 11 minutes in, up into the sky, held down, brought down, and killed off 2 in the blink of an eye. And again, Laramie, there's no other real option. I mean, I guess there's a Fury over there you could probably go for, but why go for the Fury when you can knock down a tier 2? You don't have Pringles, though, so it's going to be a little slower overall. But a little slower is still getting done here. The tier 2 knocked down sub 12 minutes and even more gold to Mr. Play-by-Play. Gold Fury available, and based on where they're running, I imagine that's the next stop.
Yeah, they're going play-by-play here, you might say, as they go objective to objective, grab gold, maybe even snag the Naga while they're at it. It would be very difficult and very unwise here for Throat Punch to try and defend this, considering just how big this level differential is, especially between the highest level of 13 versus the lowest level of 7 between these two teams. That's just an incredible amount of base stats that you're missing out on, not even to mention the gold differential, the item differential, etc. between these two teams. Great stun though from Lin. Does try to get something happening here, but forced to use the talisman to get away. Pringle slowed here on this left-hand side, but a lot of action over in mid as dives continue to happen. Benner forced into Ragnarok to get away from that.
That is just step after step in the right direction. Pringle's actually trading this out. No, you need to stay alive. Yeah! Control already gets the kill, the trade, the solo. And it doesn't matter what happens to the rest of the game. You get that win, and that's enough for me.
Layers, let the man have it. Let him have it. He earned that one. This is so rude.
This is very rude. Although, honestly... The Unhurt's kind of cooking right now. It's not enough because you don't have the health bar to work with, but was getting the damage out there. Impressive. Again, rushing the crit, much like we saw on the Jingwei. Had a lot of damage. Lane Train goes down. And it looks like Snatty will pay for that with his life. The Athena trading out and Finrith being able to get aggressive. Laramie, for the first time, it feels like we have a little bit of breathing room in this game.
Well, maybe not. Krim is going
He's going for a Phoenix
here. The damage is not bad, you know, with that extra stim from Thunderclap, being able to get some damage there is not a bad thing. Layers is here, though, to support Dash as they are slamming it down this left-hand side. Good heal, and up goes the Mordred. Trying to evade the damage of Dash, but going to be very close for the Amir. Thankfully, Krim shows up and saves the day. Otherwise, Dash was for sure going to die there.
Yeah, Krim acknowledged that a 13-minute Phoenix might be hard to do as just Zeus. And so instead, rotates in, gets the kill, now has an Athena to maybe even continue getting aggressive.
Yeah, speaking of that Athena, look where she's at.
Left Snatty out kind of by lonesome. But now, I mean, you get a good taunt. You've got some damage, 3 levels up for the Athena, and you've got Krim right beside you. Do you have enough damage off of a detonate to maybe try and make something happen? CCMU, here comes the ult. Good damage. No, he turns it around. You get pulled in. It still finds a kill. And now it's just looking again like it's fallen apart piece by piece. No Fire Giant, by the way. This is just the team playing aggressive, doing what they've been doing. Dashboard under the Phoenix in mid. Like you said, 1 minute, and hopefully, well, not hopefully, it will be up by then. It's just, will they even need it with the amount of kills they're getting? It is 1 by 1. Zeus ult dropped down on the Anubis. And one's winning that one a little more than the other. Dashboard just no, Zek is just deleted. Mr. Play-by-Play, 11,000 gold, 15 minutes in. maybe a back and a fire giant before they get aggressive. 10-0-5 for Crim on the Zeus, by the way.
Yeah, that is crazy to me that this Zeus has yet to be taken down. I'm just surprised overall because you think he'd be a relatively simple target to hit, but Crim has not been the focus of ganks in either of these games, right? We saw a lot of focus on duo, a little bit over in solo, but really not that much fighting in mid. And if you leave a Zeus to his own devices to just farm up as much as Crim has, snag these kills without any kind of severe consequences, it starts to get a little bit dicey, and dicey doesn't even really begin to cut it, considering what we've seen this game.
Yeah, you have to find... Man, some way into this, I don't think it's going to be around a fire giant. It's definitely not defending a tier 2. Unfortunately, through the wall, everybody out of nowhere onto this Anubis. Prince had no wiggle room to work with. And it's 29 now kills for Mr. Play-by-Play. All on the right-hand side of the map. Now, Lermy, now they decide, you know what, maybe that fire giant seems pretty good. And they should, I mean, at this point, you've got the DPS for it. Like I said last time, they're approaching, I don't even know if I can say they're hitting their late game. The highest level they have is 17. But it's still 4 levels up on the other mid laner. And so Crim is feeling pretty good about it. Fire giant destroyed. And now it's just, where does the team go?
That is the question, right? They could barrel down the left-hand side, and honestly, really good recognition here from Throat Punch to go immediately for this Gold Fury. The problem is, if they don't do it fast enough, they do get caught out here by Mr. Play-by-Play, but honestly, going to Gold's not their #1 priority at this point. Getting the Phoenix would be much, much nicer. And that DPS, that took a hot second there. And now that Play-by-Play know that they're not going to show up for a hot second here as they all have to return back to base. That is a free Phoenix, and I would not be giving up that Phoenix for a Gold Fury, worst comes to worst here.
Yeah, you need to mount a defense at some point somewhere. Now you've got the damage pulling them back. You've got a little bit coming out from Crim, though. No, not enough. There it is. No, it was for the Fenrir, taken down. Another one on the board. 2, 3 as they chase him down. Dashboard pays for it with his life, but it is a 2v4. Like you said, one Phoenix already gone. Now looking for the last kill, and in the fountain takes out one. The other dies down. Deicide, game 2, and the set all over to Mr. Play-by-Play.
That was what a set. I mean, I don't really have words, honestly, considering the things that we witnessed today. The crimes against humanity, and you might even say committed against the Frontier. Just a tough set. And honestly, that's what you would expect from second seeded team over here in Mr. Play-by-Play. Names that you probably recognize if you've looked out at the SPL and the SCC over the past few years. They are just more tenured, and sometimes that is what you need in these kind of situations. It is tough all around, but I was very pleased to see that there were some signs of life. You know, I think back to that solo kill for Control-Alt-Eat onto Pringles, and just like how these tiny plays, and they might not matter in the grand scheme of things, right? But these small wins that you see across the board throughout this game, they're points that Throat Punch Studio should look back at and say, we had these points, and now we just need to go back and continue to find out how these points happened. How can we replicate this? How can we bring this to our greater overall macro strategy and continue to push forward with that? But I mean, what's more to say about Mr. Play-by-Play here than they rocked it, because they certainly did.
Yeah, they did pretty much everything they needed to and then some in that game. 12-0-7. Crim looks good on the Zeus, as it turns out. Yeah, 25,000 damage.
That's a lot of damage.
More than double what Prince was able to put out. So if we're talking DPS check, one of them did win the DPS check at the end of the game. And man, like you said, Laramie, it's just a lot of control. More kills, I feel like, all around on the board for Throat Punch Studio. Maybe I'm misremembering. I feel like there were, like Zek is a little lower by, I think, 2. I think they had 7 kills on the Loki, but more for Prince. Control-Alt-Eat gets on the board. That was a glorious solo kill, and admittedly, that's the one that mattered the most, as we saw. But the set, very overwhelmingly in favor of Mr. Play-by-Play, which puts them in a favorable position overall, right? If we're looking at a grand scheme, it's not the end of the road for Throat Punch Studio, and it's not the end of the road for Mr. Play-by-Play. They are one step closer to qualifying to playoffs, and that is their overall goal. They want to try and qualify up in those top 8 teams, top 2 in their group, And if they can do so, then they will be able to go not only to playoffs, but have a chance potentially to fight their way all the way to Vegas, of course, which is the end goal for pretty much everybody on the line right now.
Yeah, gotta be excited for that. And again, I think there are a lot of learning experiences in this game for both teams, right? A little bit sloppy in some parts for Mr. Play by Play, but again, Thread Punch did have some times that they were this close to shining brightly, and they just need to hone in on those times and again find the secret formula, if you will, for what needs to come together to make those things happen again and consistently.
Yeah, it's definitely, I guess, a little bit of changes that need to be approached, and maybe some reconsiderations as they go into their future matches. But now, as we look at the bracket and look around what has been going on again, and a good update of where everybody is at. Of course, next week we're going to be looking at promo games, elimination games, however you want to promote them overall. But for Mr. Play by Play, they are going to be looking at Kitty Party as their next opposition. And again, one more win for them means they get to go to playoffs. That's something that we'll get to watch, I believe, next week, as some of these are played both offline. And of course, we're going to try to catch as many as we possibly can. And that's the fun thing. Of course, now looking towards the bottom right, first name Zach, roll the dice, I believe, is what we're going to be jumping into next. But seeing Buff Ool beat out the Employment LARPers, Theater Thugs going down, all these teams, all these matches, and more. Again, we told you there was a lot of Smite that was going to be going on this weekend. And there's still more to come here in North America for these last chance qualifiers. And again, you want to pay attention to these winner advance to playoffs matchups, because those are the ones next week that are going to be maybe the biggest highlight. But this is a good taste. And again, the glory of a double elim is that is not the end of the road for Throat Punch, much like it's not the end of the road for a lot of these teams. They still have some changes and like you said, different ways to approach and tackle next week to try and continue pushing their way as far forward as they possibly can.
Yeah, it's going to be some exciting stuff coming up. And honestly, I'm just really excited to see how the next couple of patches change things. I mean, especially next week coming up is going to be Ra and Sobek in as well. And that's always exciting. I'm ready to see some snipes again on the battlefield, and it's going to be looking great.
Especially, I mean, if first off, if you get them both on the same team, someone's probably done something wrong.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
the capability to potentially snipe someone into like an execute threshold for a sub execute, like, it's just glorious. I can't wait to see what those two are going to bring.
I'm so excited.
And unfortunately, we have to, much like you have to. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we get back, we're going to have a small reset, and we'll jump into the next set.